Live. We got probably the latest video I've done in a very long time. It is currently a little bit after 1 a.m. Eastern Time. My name is Chris, and this is We Love Comics. While I'm waiting to see if anybody is still up and can catch me out live, I want to do what I always do, and that starts out with shouting out my paid Patreon members. So if you want your name up on this board and a potential chance of winning a X-Men 97, if I can get 20 paid members by the end of this month, February 2025, just go to patreon.com/we love comics. So shout out to Sith Lord Michael B, Kevin W, Dan L, Herbert R, Annabelle N, Jason B, Kim N, newest member Blessed, and then the last four are from social networks and YouTube. So YouTube, check out Kendall Kid Comics with an X at the end, not an S. If you have Instagram, check out Scott WU077. On Facebook, check out Stephen L. Turk Author. And last but not least, Silver Age Server _comics on Instagram. All right, I see we got, give me a second. I want to make sure everything's working. Want to make sure the microphone is working. Yes, okay. So we got a shout out. Is it Theory or Theory? But GTK Comic. When do you go to sleep, man? You are definitely more of an insomniac than I am. Hoppy A is here. So really quick, if you want to join my Patreon, it's patreon.com/we love comics. If I can get up to 20 paid members by the end of this month, February, I'm going to be giving away to one of my paid members a X-Men 97, probably between an 8 and 8.5 grade, in my opinion, $200 to $250 value. Um, there is no minimum to enter other than the minimum to join anybody's Patreon, which is $2 a month, but you'll get one entry for every $2 that you put in. So the more you put in, the more entries you will receive. So I've already cracked open. Let me just tape this really quick. It'll be taped for a live audience. Yeah, these are the jokes at 1 in the morning. But I've already taken out of the slab, and just to show, and with these new slabs, they weren't as easy. So here's the case. There is the label, which I'm going to keep, and I'm going to be sending this with the other 3 books, actually 4 books, because for the first time in the 8 years I've been working with PGX, I got one cracked case that I have to have them redo. But here it is, out of the slab. I got to check it. And a couple of people were asking what if the cover is detached and everything. I can tell you right now, the cover is not detached. The centerfold staples are perfect. And Mr. White Gloves, if you're watching, I actually used my white gloves to handle this book. Now, one of my subscribers, while I was doing the live show earlier, I showed the serial number for the CGC case and asked if somebody, while I was doing the live chat, checked the grader's notes, which I have right here. And this is I think this book is going to get a pretty decent bump in grade, in my opinion. Now, the grader's notes on the CGC website says moderate fade front cover, which is obvious. The Tales of Suspense and the little box at the bottom, right here and right here, are faded. And one thing, if you know anything about ultraviolet light, it does not affect blue. It does not affect gray. Does not affect white. Does not affect black. It will affect red, yellow, and orange. So it pays to know these things. But that you can't fix, okay? But you can get in the 6, even 7 range with a faded cover that's completely faded. Not completely where you can't see it, but I mean the whole thing is faded. This just has these 2 sections. So this could, if everything else was perfect, this could get like a 7.5 if it was perfect. Okay, now here's the best part, and I didn't notice it until I took it out of the slab. It says a piece out in the right top corner, which I already showed. Okay, so let me put the camera on my end so I can see. Okay, so right here, there's a little piece missing, but again, I mean, you can get an 8.5 with a damage like that, maybe even an 8.85 if that was the only damage. Now, obviously that's not the case, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'm going to try and reflect it in a second. But it says finger bends and light creases on the cover. Now, when I thought light creases on the cover, I thought there was maybe one or two that I couldn't see. This entire cover, see if you can see it in the light. See all those wrinkles? Now, you might say that's the bag, but it's also, it's hard to see, but there are divots on the entire front and back of this book, which do not break color. So that is why this book got a 3.5, because I thought they said there's like finger indents. I thought there might have been maybe one or two. And when they said the light creases, I thought, again, maybe one or two. When I took this out of the slab, the entire front and the entire back cover have these indents. Not one of them breaks color. A pressing, I don't even think it needs a dry cleaning, but if they think it does, they'll do it. A pressing is going to dramatically increase the grade of this book. I wish I could show you. If you look at those ripples in the bag, that's pretty much indents of all the ripples on this cover that you can't really see. But when I took it out of the slab, again, it's the entire cover, front and back. So the person who owned this book that got it graded did not get it pressed. Maybe they didn't know about it, or they didn't want to do it, or maybe they just couldn't afford to do it. Who knows? But this book is going to get a substantial bump in grade with the pressing. And let me tell you something, whether you guys like PGX or not, I'll leave that up to you. You have your right, your opinion. From my experience, their pressings are top notch. They have done wonders with my comics. They have not, knock on wood, they have not ruined one comic with their pressings. With the entire front and back cover a wrinkled mess of very light indents where none of them break color, a pressing could bring this book from a 3.5 maybe as high as a 6.5. A 6.0 of this book sells for between about $15,000 and $17,000. When I talk about people buying slabs, look at the books. Now, this obviously I couldn't tell because I couldn't even see it in person. It wasn't until I took it out of the case and I had the comic there out there and I reflected it in the light. You can see the entire cover has little indents all over it. That is absolutely what pressings are for. I would not be shocked. I think the minimum grade of this book would be a 5.5 minimum. I think it could go 6.5, maybe a 7 if wishful thinking. But I'm going to show, and let me put on the camera on my end so I can make sure it's in the right spot. If you look at this spine, now this book came out, I believe, in 1963. There is not one spine tick along the spine. The edges, now you can see there's some rippling a little bit on the top. But again, a pressing, those are the finger marks that they talked about in the grader's notes. So obviously somebody, opening it up was holding it from the top. So it creates these little ripples. Those aren't rips. That can be pressed out as well. Again, that's the only defect, which only goes to the cover. It doesn't affect any other pages. You have a little bit of a rounded corner here, but not major. Sharp all the way down. The bottom, which I'm surprised, usually they have a lot of dog ears and a lot of creases, not one to be found. The back of the book is white. The pages they seem like off-white, but I opened up the centerfold. The staples are pure silver. They look like brand new staples. So whoever had this book took care of it, but either did not know about pressings, or maybe, like I said, maybe just couldn't afford it, or maybe it was going to take too long. I don't know. Um, Daniel says, okay, unexpected late one. Yeah. So this book, I am absolutely going to be sending. I'm going to be doing the video tomorrow of the 4 books, technically 5, because like I said, one of my cases cracked. So I'm going to have them give a new case on it, which is no problem. That's the first time in 8 years that a case is cracked. But I'm going to be doing the video tomorrow of the 4 books that I'm going to be sending to PGX to go get graded. Obviously, this is one of them. Like I said, with all of these wrinkles, all completely front and back, I can understand why they graded this a 3.5. Getting those out is going to eliminate so many the major problem of this book. And like I said, I think the minimum grade this book will come back as, in my opinion, is a 5.5. I think it'll be a 5, excuse me, a 5.5 to a 6.0 range. 5.5 to 6.5 range, and I would not be shocked if it was a 7. So it will depend on the pressing, but there is not one color breaking spine tick on this at all. This is a gorgeous book. And that's why when I saw it before, obviously I cracked it out of the slab, I was like, how is this book a 3.5? But when I took it out of the slab and I had the reflection in the light, and I saw all of the imperfections on, like I said, the entire front and the entire back. It's minuscule. You can't see it in the case. Even when I have this in a bag, I can't see it because the light's reflecting the light away from the actual comic. So the only way I saw it is when I took it out of the protective sleeve that it comes in the encapsulation, and it's like the entire book. Pressing that out is going to dramatically increase the grade. So let's just say it comes back a 5.5. To spend $5,350 on what could potentially become at least a 5.5 is absolutely insane, in my opinion, for buying a book in 2025 of this caliber. So I wanted to share it with you guys because a couple of people are saying, how do you know the cover isn't detached? Well, the label should say it, but then people were saying that CGC stopped putting cover detached on the label, which I think, seems to be typical shady CGC these days. I think that's a bad idea. But when we looked at the greatest notes, it didn't have anything like that there either. And then people are saying, well, it still could be. Well, I opened it up and I checked myself, and the staples are completely intact. There's not even any remote spine split at all. This to me is why I tell people all the time, knowledge, not being afraid to take chances. Because like I said, even in this, you can't see all of the ripples on the entire book. And they're minor. Taking it out of the bag, which I'm not going to do now, you'll be able to see them all. And again, when I saw the grader's notes, they didn't specify how much of it. It just says it has those light bends and the finger indents, which obviously, like I said, is on the top. So those can be pressed out too. So those aren't tears. That's, again, somebody was opening to read the book and they were probably holding it from the top, not being very careful. So that could be pressed. But again, you can have a minor details like that, and that's the major quote unquote problem, if you want to call that major. I really think this book is going to come back at least a 6.65. And if you look up a 6.0 of this book, this on selling on eBay, I think it's like $18,000. Not bad. That would be an incredible pickup for $5,000. This is why I tell people all the time, I don't care who you go to send your books to get graded with, get your books pressed and dry cleaned. Because just imagine if you're the seller of this book. You sold this book for $5,000 and realized that if you got the book pressed and dry cleaned, which would, if you sent it to CGC, it would probably cost what for a kind of book like this? Let's just say it would cost $100, just for argument's sake, at the highest end. Let's say CGC would charge you $100 to get this book pressed. If it goes from a 3.5 to a 6 because of all of the damage that could be fixed by a pressing, you're upgrading from about a $5,000 book to now a $15,000 to $17,000 book, putting in $100 worth of investment extra. It's a no-brainer. So I am 100% sending this in. I was originally going to be sending this one in this month. I wasn't going to send both, but this is the other book I got the other day. It is a it's not a coverless, even though the seller marked it as coverless. It has the original back cover, which is completely attached except for about a 2-inch spine split, but it has a facsimile cover. I was going to send this in, but I know the grade is going to come back a 0.5. It's not going to be like I'll get it back and it surprised me with a 1.0 or a 1.5, because when you're missing the front cover or you're missing the back cover, one or the other, it's an automatic 0.5. So there wouldn't be any surprise with that book. But this one, it's just not a matter of will it be bumped up in grade, but how high will it go? Daniel says, how does color fade factor into the grade? Like I said, I have an amazing Spider-Man 238 first Hobgoblin where the entire cover has the fading. And it's either a 5.0 or a 6.0. This only has partial, because the best thing about this book is it's a very bland book as far as color-wise. Because you have Iron Man, who is gray, with black outline around white pattern. And again, because ultraviolet rays cannot affect the color blue, it doesn't fade. That's why only this red area here and this red area here is the only thing that faded on the entire front cover. So even if this completely was faded, like somehow this wasn't blue, let's say this was red, all of this was red instead of blue, and it faded like this, and let's say Iron Man had his golden yellow armor, which would have faded, and the whole thing was faded, you could still get between a 5 and a 6 with this book. That's why I was wondering, why was it a 3.5 grade? Now I know. And I am thrilled at the fact that 95% of the problem of this book that gave it a 3.5 can be pressed away. So it's not if it's going to go up in grade, but how much. I would be thrilled no matter what grade. I mean, even if it came back a 4, which it absolutely won't with all that problem that could be fixed, but even if it did come back a 4, I'd be so thrilled about it. And this is why I tell people all the time, don't be afraid to take chances. Know what you're doing. Check out slab books. Because like I said, this one, I could not see all of those defects until I cracked it out of the case and took it out of the plastic protection and shown the quote-unquote naked comic, using gloves, by the way, for the first time in a very long time. That only then I could see those defects. And complete front and back can be fixed. James Logan says CGC charges a percentage after a declare value. Yeah. So even if it cost you 500, if the book goes from a 3.5 to a 5, your level of the price increase is going to increase more than that, whatever amount you're going to pay to get it pressed. The beautiful thing is, with my deal that I work with PGX, my 4 books cost $50 for me to get graded, pressed and dry cleaned, signature verification if it needs it, and grader's notes placed on the back of the slab. So it will cost me $12.50 to get this book graded, pressed, dry cleaned, grader's notes on the back of the book, plus whatever it costs me to ship it. I think that's a hell of a good deal for me. But even if I had to pay, if I sent it, for example, to CGC to get and paid full price, it is absolutely worth it. And that's why I tell people, get your books dry cleaned. Know about defects because you can get steals that take a good deal into an amazing deal. So, I don't want to make this video too long. Let's see what some of the comments said in case anybody has any questions or anything. But I'm actually surprised so many people are up this late. GTK Comics says, Chris, isn't it past your bedtime? I'm going to be going to sleep right after this, but I was so excited about cracking this open and then seeing all the pressable defects. I was like, I couldn't wait until tomorrow to do a video. I wanted to show you guys. But again, I'm doing the video tomorrow of the books that I'm going to be sending to PGX, so hopefully you'll check it out. But at least you guys watching now know one of the books, the key book. James says, wow, 1 a.m. That's for sure. James says hello to everybody, so everybody say hi. Theory 23, you nailed it. Thank you. Nate Dog is here, says, hey, Chris. So jealous right now. Well, this is the one thing. It's literally taken me about 7 or 8 years of hard work and determination to be able to build up to get books like this. So I don't have $1 million bank account. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars that I could spend at any moment. What I have is a certain set of skills. And I try and teach people. Like I said, I made a video about 3 days ago telling how you can buy books for $0 in your own bank account. Spend $0 and it'll take you a couple of years, but you can end up upgrading books to get books like this. So I don't want anybody to be jealous. I want people to see this as an incentive to say, well, if Chris can do it, I can do it. And that's why I give out all my secrets and everything, because I want everybody to succeed. I'm happy for people. Daniel sent me a message before saying he was jealous of my kidding around, but he said he was jealous of my collection. And I'm like, I said to him, I guarantee a lot of people are jealous of his collection. I mean, he's got Amazing Spider-Man 14. He's got Daredevil #1. He's got Avengers #1, I believe. He's got a lot of key books. So he's got Strange Tales 110, a bunch of them. But the whole thing is it takes time, it takes effort, it takes knowledge, and sometimes it takes a little luck, but it definitely takes a lot of bravery, not being afraid to take the chance. Because there was some people that said, oh, I wouldn't crack the case open. Then they would have never found out that this book literally has the entire book pressably fixable and could bump the grade up. Like I said, if it came back a 7, I wouldn't even be shocked. But imagine if I bought what was a 3.5 for $5,350 and it comes back a 7.0. That would be mind blowing, and that would be my most valuable comic. Never be afraid to take chances. I mean, don't be foolish about a chance or something, but I had nothing to lose with this one. I had to be very careful opening it because these new slabs, the plastic that encapsulates the comic, it's like a half an inch between where you need to cut for it to actually open and split apart to where the comic is. So you got to be careful with that. And you also have to make sure when you're cutting the long way up, only go halfway and then turn it around and go halfway from there. Otherwise, if you go too far up, it could create a bend in the center of the book, in the middle of the book, and could create a crease. So you have to be very careful with that. So luckily, knock on wood, I didn't cut any of the edges because then it would be marked as trimmed. But I'm just we'll see what happens. But to me, this was a no-brainer. That's why I'm never afraid to take chances, and I think I'm going to reap the rewards of my trusting my instincts. And that's why I say, don't listen to this. Listen to this. I want to have my channel be an example of what can be done. I don't want people hating. I want people to be learning from my wins, from my hard work. I wasn't gifted with a silver spoon in my mouth. I don't have a wealthy family. Like I said in the video earlier today, I mean, I grew up drinking powdered milk. and having dinners consisting of macaroni and cheese and chopped up hot dogs. So it's been a struggle, but I've always learned that as long as you have a brain to be able to think of things and a heart to be able to follow what's true in your heart, you'll always succeed, but sometimes it could take a couple of years. When you run a marathon, you don't win after the first step. You have to run the miles it takes to win that marathon, or at least finish. But you'll never finish if you don't start. So that's what I hopefully I will inspire people with. We'll see what happens. I want you all to succeed. James Logan says, I bet it's a Jack Kirby signature. I wish it had a signature in it. Oh my God. I would literally soil myself if that was the case, but I don't want to open it and check. But if there was a Jack Kirby signature or a Stan Lee's, if they signed it years ago, it could be on the front page. But I think CGC would have noticed that when they graded it, so I doubt that. Clumsy Comics, I like the name, says, hey from Australia. Hi, mate, nice to hear you. I hope I didn't insult you with my really bad Australian accent. I don't think I've ever seen you here, but welcome, thank you, and hello from the United States of America, where I live near the Gulf of America now. Nate Dogg says, I have Tales of Suspense 40, but not 39. Well, for me, I had the same thing for the longest time. I would always get, I could get as close as, Avengers #2 when I was younger. Tales of Suspense 40. My earliest when I was a kid, because comics were cheaper then, back in the Stone Ages. My earliest Spider-Man was #9, which isn't a bad one to have, first Electro. But I could never get the #1 issues, even back then. So to get them now as an adult, I guess maybe it's better that way because you just appreciate things more. James Logan or a double cover. Wouldn't that be sweet? But unfortunately, it doesn't have either one of those things. Let's see. Clumsy Comics says like a pen hit. Daniel says okay. Unexpected late thing. Yep, he already read that. Talked about the color fade. Uh, Cl- um, Clumsy Comics says I was thinking 6.6 to 6.5 with good results from press. I wouldn't be shocked if it's even higher, but I wouldn't be disappointed even if it was a 5. I wouldn't be disappointed. Let's see. It scrolled up on me. Sorry about that. Um, Big Debo 72 says fading like that kills the grade. I learned that the hard way myself. But again, this is only partial. So it's not going to kill the grade. And like I said, I have another book that is like I said, either a 5.0 or a 6.0, and the entire cover is faded. So it's not as bad as you think. And again, this is only 2 sections of this book are faded. Where it says Tales of Suspense, the red, and the bottom here in the red. Everything else has not been affected by the sun because if you know about the sun rays, certain spectrums of light, of the ultraviolet light, will not affect colors like blue. So let's see. Daniel says, can you zoom in along the spine? Yeah, I've done it before, but I can do that again. Unfortunately, there is not one spine tick. Whoever had this book, and I mean, look, you would be able to see with the color if there was any spine ticks. There's not one. So all of the damage is basically, except for that one little tear piece missing there, everything is fixable. This won't get a 9 or anything like that, but unfortunately, let's see if I can bring the light closer. Maybe that's a little bit better. You can see. I mean, you can look at 3.5s all day and you'll find multiple spine ticks. This has none. But like I said, it's because the entire front and back of this book is completely wrinkled with minor wrinkles. Not one breaks color. So hopefully that helped you see it a little bit better. Let's see. Okay, we read that one. James Logan says, I think it's 5% for grading. He's talking about what CGC charges for pressing and dry cleaning. GTK Comics says, Chris, do you know anything about The quality of CGC pressings and cleanings. No, I've never had them press and dry clean any of my books, so I would be the wrong person to ask about that. All of my books have been pressed by PGX, and they do fantastic pressing work. So I really think they're going to do a number on this book for me. Carl says its appearance, Iron Man, great Grail comic. Absolutely, his first appearance. It's something I've always wanted. James Logan says, I can't remember the name of the company that does cleaning and presses for CGC. I don't remember either, but I'm sure there's plenty of smart people in the live chat or somebody watching it later that'll put it in the comments section. Sequential Geek, good to see you. I'm amazed at how many people are up right now. Says, I'm looking at the Overstreet guide to grading comics, and it looks like at least a 6. Yeah, I agree. That's and if it gets a 6 from a 3.5, that's a hell of a bump on a Grail comic. I mean, you're talking literally crippling the value of the book. It's amazing. James Logan says, but I remember a few years back someone sent a $20,000 comic book, and that company pressed wrong pop in the staples, and they were like, well, we're not responsible for us effing up your book. Yeah, you got to be careful with who you send your books to get pressed with, because I've seen people um send books in to get pressed and then regraded, and they came back lower grades. This is not going to get lower than a 3.5, and they've, knock on wood, never messed up any of the pressings. I am impressed by their pressings at PGX. I've said it multiple times. They do incredible work. Sequential Geek says the fading concerns me that the grade may be a 5.5. Again, if this was completely faded, I can understand that. But the only parts that got affected is here and here. So that's not going to keep the grade low. So, but even again, even if you're 100% right, I'm going to be thrilled. If it only gets a 5.5, I'm not going to complain. I mean, heck, even if it came back a 4, I'll take a 0.5 upgrade for minimum amount of effort. So if it only ends up a 5.5, I'm not going to complain one bit. So let's see who's right. I think this book will come back 6.65, and it's not impossible to get a 7. Because again, there's not one spine tick. And the one piece that's missing on the top is not big. It's like the tip of your pinky fingernail. So that's not going to bring it down into the 5s. So we'll see what the pressing does. CTG Comic says, Chris, congrats on the new Grail. Once again, I would like to see you do a review video on CGC pressings and cleanings. Well, I can't do that because I don't deal with CGC and I've never done their pressings before. I would recommend people that do CGC work to have that done on their channel. I would be the wrong person for that because I just don't use CGC anymore. They're too expensive, and with all the controversies and switching of comics and stuff like that, just not a company that I'm comfortable with. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree. To each their own. Sequential Geek says, no, certain defects are allowed if other defects are not. Exactly. Are not present at the bottom of I'm sure you meant each grade details page and Overstreet guide to grading. Absolutely. TTQ Comics, he's laughing when I said I'll soil myself. Uh, if it happens, I won't tell you, and I will definitely won't show you. Um, yeah, Daniel says that reminds me of my Superman 2 win. For those of you who don't know, I am a proud owner of a Superman 2. Now, when I bought it years ago, the seller told me that it had a facsimile cover. I bought it, I paid, I think, $385, somewhere around there for Superman #2. And I thought even if it had a facsimile cover, that price is a steal, right? Had it for years. I actually tried to sell it at my flea market at the time for like $2,000. Nobody wanted it. So I'm like, you know what? Let me get it graded. Because I remember when I unboxed that, and I think I still have the video up to this day, When I got that book, I even said when I opened it, I said, if this is a facsimile cover, it's the best copy of a facsimile cover I've ever seen. Well, long story short, what I thought was going to come back a point 0.3 or a point 0.5 came back a 4.0, and that was the original cover. Now, what happened is, and I think the reason why they might have thought it was a facsimile is somebody took a yellow, I guess one of those highlighters, and they colored in all of the yellow and used a red highlighter to color in all the red. So it was like red, yellow, red, like lines, and they filled it in completely. So it did show as restored. It did have some trimming, and it had major color touch, they called it, but it was an actual, real, original cover. It wasn't a facsimile. That book is about a $15,000 book, even in that with restored condition. I paid 300 and something dollars, and I remember at the time everybody was laughing at me saying it was crazy that I spent my money on it. That's why I don't, I can listen to people, but I won't ever let people influence me. And thank you, Daniel, for reminding me of that. That's definitely a win. If this came back a 6.0, 6.5, 7.0, this would trump that one because that's an amazing bump. But we'll see. Sequential Geek says, yes, you live by the Gulf of America now. Yes. And they've actually, from what I hear, it is they changed it in the map. Jesus Medina says it's 1:30 a.m. Been a while since I caught a live show. Yeah, I'm definitely usually asleep by this point, but I'm glad you're here. Thank you. It's always good to see Jesus this late at night. Normally, with my age, if I saw Jesus this late at night, I'd be very concerned I wouldn't be waking up the next day, but I'm glad it's on a comic book channel. Then we have, forgive me if I say this wrong, Liu Z Wen says, hi, Chris. Hello, good to see you. Let's see. EGS Comics is here. Hey, good to see you. Says you also run the risk of lowering your grade with CGC if you want a reholder. Yeah, I'm not going to be dealing with CGC when it comes to that. I do not trust them. And everybody, if you've never tried EGS Comics, shout out right now to them because I mean it's a newer grading company, and Tony is a great guy. I've talked to him on the phone many a time. I could not say anything bad about his service and everything, and it's nice to see. I haven't seen you in a live chat in a while, but yeah, follow him and give EGS a try as well. So shout out to Tony, the owner of EGS Comic Grading Services. Um, Definitely, like I said, I've talked to him on the phone. Great guy, great company, and I wish him nothing but the best. I have nothing bad to say. Clumsy Comic says, wasn't the cover original light green? No. If you look at, you could go onto eBay right now and just type in Superman 2. It's like stripes. It's a really weird comic. It's got diagonal red stripes, diagonal yellow stripes, and that's where just Superman is right there, and then more diagonal red stripes. Very weird cover. James Logan says, I remember. That's good, because if you had amnesia, you definitely wouldn't be able to do that. One Bridge 11 says, are you a fan of the Critical Drinker? I know of him. I don't have a problem with him at all. I think sometimes he's just a little too negative, and I think we need more positivity. But, you know, he's got one hell of a fan base, and he's definitely a very influential YouTuber. But I have nothing bad to say about him, but I don't subscribe to him. I don't really, I watch his videos sometimes, like if they come up in my recommendations, but I think sometimes he could be a little bit too negative, and that's just not my kind of thing. But again, I don't have anything bad to say about him. Clumsy says was talking about the Tales of Suspense. Oh yeah, no worries. All right, so that's the video. I don't want to keep this up too long. That's what he said. And yeah, so check out my video tomorrow. And again, don't be afraid to take chances. Trust your instincts. My instincts told me to crack this open. Now, I would have never guessed that the little amount of what CGC wrote in their graders notes would end up being the entire comic, front and back, and could easily be pressed out. It's just, I'm going to be so excited, and I'm going to hate the fact that I'm going to have to wait a month and a half or 2 months to get this back, but it will be worth the wait. So, guys, watch the video I did about 2 or 3 days ago teaching people how you can do stuff like this. I have other videos where I share all of my secrets on how to win on eBay, all these different things I give away freely because I want you guys to succeed. Because if we all succeed, we can inspire other people to join into the community and be a part of the excitement. You know, whether you like Trump or not, one of the things I like that he said recently is this is the golden age. Well, you know what? This could be a renewed golden age of comic collecting. If we all start working together, helping one another, inspiring one another, if somebody succeeds, we high five them. We don't make them feel bad. And if we can all do that, and we get more people in and that love for comics and that excitement for things like this could be a new golden age of comic collecting that we haven't seen in a very long time. So I'm in. Let's see if you are as well. So let's do surprise subscriber shout outs. We're going to go with One Bridge 11, and we're going to go with Luzi Wen. Both of you are today's surprise subscriber shout out. What that means is if you, well, once the video uploads in the comment section, you could post a link to your YouTube channel if you have a YouTube page and if you make videos. If you don't have that and you want to do a link to one of your social networks like Instagram, Facebook, whatever, TikTok, if you have that retarded thing, you could do that instead. Or if you sell anything on Amazon, you know, eBay, Etsy, whatever, Facebook Marketplace, and you want to put a link to one of your sales, or if you have your own business and you want to just share a link to your business, just put it in the comments section, and you guys, both of you, can do that. I'll leave it up to you which one you decide. Keep in mind, it will have to be something that's suitable for all audiences. I will not promote somebody selling adult toys on eBay, for example, or I won't promote a YouTube channel that bullies people or does, YouTube pranks that hurt people. So it has to be suitable for all audiences. So when you enter a link into the comment section, it will automatically go to spam, so you won't be able to see it. That keeps trolls and spammers from putting anything inappropriate on my channel. So if you do see a link in the comment section, it means that I did verify it, and it will take you somewhere where it's suitable for all audiences. So hopefully, somebody that was picked as the surprise subscriber shout out puts a link. You'll go check them out. So once again, I want to thank everybody for coming here. Another bonus shout out to EGS Comics, Tony. Always a pleasure. Good to see you. I could see you're a night owl like me. I'm going to get my ass to sleep right now. I'm just excited about the possibilities of this. And I wish nothing but the best for you guys. If you guys want to critique my AI art, I would love to hear your opinion, good, bad, or indifferent. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, it is not you, it is not I, it is we love comics. Go get some sleep, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. And Sequential Geek says, I just bid on a PGX comic on eBay. Good luck. I hope you win it. And if you do, leave a little comment. Let me know what you got. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.